It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. It is Friday, November 15th, 2024. In studio, we are delighted to welcome back to our studio our newest All-Star panelist, EJ Haas. Welcome, EJ.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's that time of day again, EJ. It's time for the Morning Rundown, brought to you by the Glock Store, located just a couple miles from the airport here in Nashville. Glockstore.com on the internet. Okay, so here we go. Here's a morning rundown for Friday, November 15th, 2024. Number one, the hits just keep on coming. The Trump appointments yesterday, heads exploded in the pharmaceutical industry all across the United States when Donald Trump nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And as a side benefit, all the stock prices for big pharmaceuticals plummeted. I hear Dr. Fauci is going to take a plane to a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty.
Probably a smart move.
Number two, and this is really good, our good buddy Doug Burgum, whom I know from my days in business school, is a year ahead of me at Stanford. He went on to make $1 billion or so.
Sure did.
With Great Plains Software, and became governor of North Dakota. He is about to be formally announced as Secretary of Interior. Mm-hmm. I exchanged some texts with Doug last night. He was apparently hanging out at Mar-a-Lago with the big guy.
Of course he was.
And I said, I invited him on the show today. I said, EJ's going to be with me on the show. You're going to want to be part of that. He said, Mike, I'd love to come on. But Team Trump has said, wait till the formal announcement.
Right.
But I think I will be his first radio interview
that
after
would be
that.
Incredible.
He's a great guy. He's a really great guy. So that's number two. Doug Burgum, named Secretary of the Interior. I'm going to ask him, did you have an option, energy or interior? Because that's where he would, make sense to be.
Yeah.
Number three, the Treasury, Secretary of Treasury. Who is going to be Secretary of Treasury? Is it going to be, I think, this guy with Cantor Fitzgerald, what's his name, Howard Lutnick, running the transition team? Or will it be our buddy, Scott Bessent, whom we've interviewed multiple times?
I think Bessent has an edge.
He's got the edge. Look, there's a feel of like the new Power Rangers are in town, or the new Avengers, right?
Sure.
It's like he's got that feeling, but we'll see. I would be surprised if the Treasury announcement isn't made today.
Oh yeah, I think so
too. It's got the feel
Interior, Treasury. I think that's for today.
Okay, so we got that going on. Next up on our morning rundown, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency.
They're hiring, I hear.
Well, we did a story on it, and but we framed that story. It's our buddies Vivek and Elon.
Yes.
Now I say our buddy Vivek. A week before he announced for president, his team had me up there to his house.
Oh wow!
I told you that, didn't I?
No.
Yeah, he's got to talk about security. Oh my goodness.
Bet.
And I met with his team. I met his wife. We spent about an hour and a half just chatting. And, we were obviously, very interested in it. And I met his PR person, Tricia McLaughlin, who's fantastic.
She is great.
You see her on Fox now.
Yep.
She's really the best. So they're doing this Department of Government Efficiency. And we caught that on their website, they're, hiring asterisk. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like they said, if you want to work 80 hours and not get paid and save the country, send us your resume.
But not just anybody.
Yeah, top 1%.
They don't want just people who have ideas. They want revolutionaries.
Yeah, small government revolutionaries.
Yep.
Right. And apparently you can send your CV to them, and they're going to take the top 1% will be reviewed by Vivek and Elon. I know their the Twitter account went from like 0 to 1.4 million followers in 48 hours.
Right? Amazing.
So a lot of people are trying to do it. Who knows what will happen with that?
Well, and I think a lot of people just want to know what they announce. So it's not just that they want to participate and tell them what to do. Instead, we want to find out what the heck are they going to do.
We're not ready to say too much about this yet.
Yeah.
But the Star News Network and the Tennessee Star might just possibly have a strategic partnership to announce in the near future.
Hey.
With some of our friends.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
I like the tease.
Okay. Also, Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan illegal gang. They're in every major city in Tennessee, the TBI told
I think
the
they
governor.
might be in every major city in the United States.
Tom Homan
Scary.
cannot get into office soon enough. And then finally, they're still trying to cheat. They're trying to steal the Senate election in
They
Pennsylvania.
are. Yep.
I don't think they're going to get away with it.
I don't think so either. I think the Republicans were really proactive this time, for the first time in my adult lifetime that I've seen them actually work ahead of the election to make sure that things were secure. So I think they're going to have a rough go if they try to overturn.
Outstanding. And, okay, so there you go. That's the morning rundown for Friday, November 15th.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and it could be more, but we want to talk about RFK in a bit. Okay, it's brought to you by the Glock Store, glockstore.com. You know, we are a for-profit entity here, and we don't do the show, and we can't do the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network, our digital news sites, unless we get sponsors. We're not like NPR.
Right.
Now, we do make espresso here on certain days. Not
Delicious.
today.
Not today, but
Not
the
today.
coffee is solid today. It is good. I don't mean solid as in versus liquid. I just mean it's top notch.
It's good enough. Unlike, apparently they have gold-plated espresso machines paid for by tax dollars at NPR. Now, we pay for our espresso machines ourselves and our coffee. But in order to be able to do this, we don't get any money from the government. We have to rely on our sponsors. And one of my favorite sponsors is the Glock Store, glockstore.com. Lenny McGill, who moved here from California, San Diego in 2020, they started listening to my program and they said, hey, we want to sponsor you. And so they've been sponsoring us really for 4 years. And we thank them so much. But here's the deal. If you are a listener to the program, wherever you are, you can help us by, and if you want to buy a Glock accessory, go to glockstore.com. Glockstore.com. Visit that website. Sign up for their newsletters at the bottom of the website. You'll learn all about their great products. And also, you'll be able to support this show, which is, of course, very important. And so there you go. The Glock Store. Glockstore.com. Okay, RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
You are ready to talk about RFK Jr.
I am. So one of the things I like to do on X in particular is follow the haters.
Follow the haters.
I like to look at, what is the opposition saying? Because it helps to strengthen my position. It helps to make me a little more aware. I don't become one of those sycophant followers that just, well, if Trump says it, then I'm all in. I want to really be knowledgeable and then form an opinion that's based on kind of all sides of the argument. So I have been following Dr. Twitter. Okay? Dr. Twitter. So those MDs or those who claim to be doctors on X, and they are losing their collective minds. Last night and this morning, they just can't stop. They're just tweeting just relentlessly. So here's their thing. As a doctor, they all start, as an MD, as a...
Is that the latest as a mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's every post comes out with, as a physician for 18 years, right?
Wah, wah.
Yeah. This guy has no experience or he's dangerous. They all say he's dangerous or whatever. So I've been asking questions.
When we come back, we'll hear the answers to those questions.
Perfect.
And we'll hear what the questions are. This is the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. She's EJ Haast. We'll be back after this.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of The Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. It is Friday, November 15th, 2024. E.J. Haast, all-star panelist here. The Hanging Chad, the tease from our last segment is there are a number of people on X, formerly Twitter, who purport to be doctors.
Right.
Who are going crazy over the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Right.
as Health and Human Services Secretary. I think it's just like fantastic. But so what questions have you been asking them?
Yeah.
And what answers have they been delivering?
Yeah, so they're losing their minds, saying that he's unqualified, that he's not a physician, not a doctor, and that he's anti-vax. Of course, everybody loves to say that he's anti-vax.
You mean like the current attorney, Javier Becerra,
right,
who's the head of Health and Human Services?
Right. Yeah, I mean, just look at the people who are currently in those roles, and then try and tell me that RFK Jr. isn't.
Do you know what I
qualified.
love the most? Is to do a comparison between RFK Jr.
Yes.
And what they do is they have the picture of him. He's pretty buff.
He is. For 72, is he?
He's 70.
70.
And so he's like, in great shape. And they have him out like, pumping iron on a beach without a shirt. And they compare him to Rachel Levine, the transgender fat slob.
Right. Richard Levine.
Richard, whatever. It's like,
I know.
Which one's unqualified?
Right. I mean, really, you want to go to a physician that looks like they take care of themselves. At least I do. Anywho, so everybody's losing their collective minds on X, and I've decided to start asking them some questions. How many nutrition courses did you take in school? I don't know if you know this, but Casey and Kelly Means got the book Good Energy. It's wonderful. I don't get paid by that, but I love it, and I would tell everybody to read it.
Casey and Kelly Means they've been featured.
Yes.
On Tucker Carlson, and they are
Joe Rogan.
huge.
Yeah, they've been making the rounds.
Yeah, and they're very effective.
Yes. Very effective. Incredibly intelligent. Definitely encourage anybody to go look them up. But the point is, I learned from them that most physicians, most MDs, most surgeons are not taking nutrition classes. That's not required for many of the specialties. So that's a problem right off the bat.
But they do go to these seminars and vacation events sponsored by pharmaceutical companies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I'm asking, how, does nutrition play a role in how you treat your patients? Because a lot of times they'll treat symptoms without actually looking at the human body as a whole, as a system. And so, and they can't answer it. They just lose their minds.
Are you suggesting to me that a diet of Doritos, Twinkies, and Coca-Cola is bad?
I mean,
I think so.
I don't think I'm suggesting. I'm flat out saying it. Yes, that's pretty awful. But, here's the thing. RFK Jr. wants to get harmful chemicals out of our food. Mm-hmm. He wants to get pharmaceutical ads off of television.
But let's just talk about that. 20 years ago, I don't think they even allowed pharmaceutical ads.
No, and I think, thanks to Patrick over here pushing all the blinky buttons that we like so much, he mentioned earlier, I think we're only one of two countries that allow for ads, pharmaceutical ads on TV.
I think it's what keeps MSNBC and CNN afloat financially.
And Fox News, quite honestly.
And Fox News, yeah.
Yeah.
They get all this money, and I mean, I recall, I don't know when it first came out, when maybe 15 years ago, when they would say all these side effects at the bottom, right?
Right.
They say them real fast, and it's like, if you take this, you might possibly die of this awful, miserable thing.
Right. My favorite are the antidepressants. Oh, you're not going to be depressed anymore. But side effects include thoughts of suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, make that make sense.
But
it
they
doesn't.
they say it now that those disclaimers come very fast at the very end, and it's like people don't pay attention to it. But if
Right.
you listen to them, yeah, this is an antidepressant, but you also, it might make you suicidal.
Right. Yeah, maybe I don't want that.
So I think that, we saw the pharmaceutical stocks just plunge. Look, if you listen to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he talks about the health of Americans, it's very obvious. I mean, in 1960, when his uncle
Yes.
won, became president, like, 6% of Americans were fat or obese. Now it's like 70%.
Oh, at least,
And,
yeah.
and kids today, we cannot recruit kids to join the military because so many of them are fat, obese,
Unhealthy, have
Yeah.
no stamina. Yes. And clearly it's due to our food supply in large part, right?
Right.
So the chemicals that we allowed, one of the things that I actually mentioned and put on that site that you can make suggestions to, I said, every box, every bottle, every package in a grocery store has nutrition information. It's required, right? And it tells you your calories, it tells you your ingredients, all of those kinds of things. How about we revamp our produce section to say, these apples have this many pesticides in them. They have these hormones. Why don't we have some sort of nutrition information in our produce sections that lets us know when there are chemicals either put on or in our produce? We like to think if we're eating, fruits and vegetables that they're good for us, but the truth is there's a lot of what they call endocrine blockers, it's hormone blockers, that disrupt our systems and force our bodies not to work properly. That makes you fat, it makes you unhealthy, it makes you have no stamina. So it's more than just the packaged foods, and I love that RFK Jr. knows that, and
he's very
willing to
knowledgeable.
fight it.
Well, the other thing about this is back to sort of the new Avengers 2.0. You talk about a team that gives you confidence in America. Well, first, one thing, it's unrelated to RFK Jr. specifically, but it's about we're so back. America's back. And
I agree.
And what is great is, and we've got Roger Simon coming in later today and Crom Carmichael, and we've talked about this. We were on the cusp of losing our country. And now, in the past week and a half, we're back. We're so back. What Donald Trump is doing, which I love, is this. We're going to celebrate the 250th birthday of America.
Oh, that's going to be incredible.
And it's great for the kids because they're going to understand what America's about. And related to sort of Avengers 2.0, think about this. Think about, maybe they'll do a calendar of Trump calendar of Trump cabinet secretaries.
Amazing.
RFK Jr.
Yeah.
And you saw Pete Hegseth, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Fit. He was like swimming in the sea with the Navy SEALs.
He's a little over the top for me on that stuff.
I understand.
Nobody loves Pete Hegseth more than Pete Hegseth, but
course.
I think he'll be good in that role.
Of course. I mean, they all egomaniacs, but they're egomaniacs on Team America.
Right.
I love that.
I like how it's going to change the culture where, so many young people now feel like they don't like their country.
Right.
And they've been taught that. You have to be taught not to like your country
Right.
when you live in the most privileged nation in the world. Right. So I love that now they're going to be taught to love the country. And
it's not necessarily.
Feel it. You can just
you can
feel it.
But you know what? It's not just though. It's the culture now is going to overcome the public school indoctrination.
Agreed.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. And who could have predicted this?
Well, any of us who are hardcore Trump supporters from 2016 on.
I'll tell you another, and we'll talk a little bit about this when John McLaughlin, the great pollster, comes in our next segment. it's almost as if it were a divine plan. And by that I mean, had Trump not had the election stolen from him in
Agreed.
2020, his second term would be coming to an end right now, and you'd have that weasel, Mike Pence, possibly, having been the guy, to run to succeed him. His second term, he didn't have the majority support. He didn't have the national mandate that he has today. And you would not have had Elon Musk and Robert F. Kennedy
And
Jr.
Tulsi Gabbard.
And Tulsi
all the
Gabbard.
rest. I agree.
And
I
it
agree.
wouldn't be this coming together. So in a way, this has turned out great for America.
Yeah. We kind of had to feel the pain, right? So that
And
we could
boy, did we feel the
enjoy
pain.
so that
But
we
we
could
were
enjoy the
on-
victory.
We were literally on the cusp of disaster.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and it took, gave Donald Trump 4 years to create this plan and build the relationships. I mean, Elon didn't just come out of the woodwork.
right.
This was a relationship that
You know
had
what did
to be
it?
cultivated.
You know what did it for Trump? I'm telling you. When he was watching that booster rocket come down into the little pincer holders there,
Yeah.
it was so spectacular. He said, that's what America's about. I got to get this guy on my team.
I believe you're right.
All right. John McLaughlin, Trump's pollster, is going to be with us, and I think it's going to be called a victory lap. Back after this.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. All-star panelist E.J. Haast is in studio. And on our newsmaker line, a great pollster, good friend, pollster for Donald J. Trump, Mr. John McLaughlin. Welcome, John.
Hey, it's great to be back with you. Michael Patrick Leahy has done a great job. You've gotten out the truth again. The voters have decided, and God let Donald Trump win. Thank God.
Thank goodness. We were just talking about all that. So I'm looking at the final vote totals. It's 312 Electoral College votes for Donald Trump, 226 for Harris. California is only still 89% reporting. I think they've got like 1.5 million, 2 million more to go. The popular vote shows.
Well, they're letting the ink dry in the ballots before they mail.
The popular vote has Donald Trump with 76 million votes and 50.2%, and Kamala Harris with 73.1 million votes, 48.2%, a 2% victory right now. She may get a little bit more, but it's 2.9 million more votes for Donald Trump than for Kamala Harris. I think that's almost exactly what you said the popular vote would end up being.
Well, I had inside information. We had the campaign polls. So Trump got his money's worth. But it was. You don't know until you get right up there at the end, and it's like things can change. And fortunately, as we talked about on your show previously, I mean, Donald Trump was winning. He was winning in the battleground states. We came out of actually, he was leading in the national popular vote ever since Biden surrendered Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And we held that lead, and it's published on our website, McLaughlinOnline.com. And we're getting ready to publish our own post-election survey. The media's put out theirs. And but he held that lead. We came out of the primaries with a historic win. And, Donald Trump never looked back. I mean, he won the nomination bigger than, Reagan had ever won. I used to work for Arthur Finkelstein, who was one of Reagan's pollsters. And I used to go back and compare the 80 race with when we were doing work in the 82 through 84, going up to the re-election for President Reagan. And Donald Trump's win was even more stunning and more decisive than Reagan ever had. And we led, coming out of Super Tuesday and sealing the nomination after the wins in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. There were bigger wins than Reagan had ever had, and then going into the general election, we were ahead at that point against Biden, and then it just kind of crescendoed when Biden bombed at the debate, and Trump. It was amazing. I mean, he survived an assassin's bullet. He had a united convention, and all of a sudden Biden withdraws. They pick Kamala Harris, and the media launches, the mainstream national media launches on Trump. Brent Bozell has done a study from the Media Research Center, which is nonpartisan. 85% of the coverage through the campaign from when Harris was picked till Election Day was negative on Trump, and 79% was positive for Harris. So Trump, was able to go to, different routes where he was perceived as in the end of the campaign when he, did the Joe Rogan podcast, when he worked at McDonald's, when he rode the garbage truck in Milwaukee to the rally.
Wait, hold it. Was the McDonald's thing your idea? Just come on. Just you and me talking here.
No, I think it was President Trump's idea.
It has a McLaughlin-like flair to it, though, it seems to me.
No, it wasn't. I'd like to take credit for it, but I was definitely in favor of a character contrast with Harris.
Yeah.
The key thing was President Trump was always seen as a very competent, successful president, where during the campaign he had a positive job rating. Mm-hmm. When you'd say, Joe Biden, 6 out of 10 voters usually would say they disapproved of the job he was doing. Kamala Harris, in the end, in the battleground states, 43% of the voters approved the job she was doing, 53 disapproved. And that was after this is going into the last week. And but Donald Trump, on the other hand, had net positive job approval. And now, in our post-election survey, we found that he's not only perceived as having done a better job than Kamala Harris. He's also better liked than Kamala Harris.
He is
by the
better
voters who
liked.
actually voted.
Hey, John, E.J. Host, our all-star panelist, who moved here to Tennessee, state income tax-free Tennessee from Minnesota, Stan, and told us all the stories about the true Tim Walz. E.J. Host has a question for you, John.
I do. I think what I'm hearing you say is that the Trump campaign shifted the culture and made being conservative cool again, made loving America cool again. Where do you put the credit on that? Like, who gets the most credit for kind of changing that culture and making people want to be on Team Trump so fervently, like not just a little bit, but hardcore?
Donald Trump himself. I mean, people you don't realize that, like, he's not a typical politician. I mean, he's a businessman who built this billion-dollar business on branding, and he likes people. Like, he doesn't, he'll listen to the poll numbers and he eats up the data that we give him. But in the meantime, he'll go by the gut. He'll say, I spoke to somebody here, and this construction worker, this waitress said this, or this person. He likes the average person, so that he kind of had a gut instinct about what people wanted ever since going back to 2016 when he launched, or 2015 when he launched the campaign, and he made immigration and tariffs a big issue because he felt most of America was being exploited by these global elites who basically they were sending our jobs overseas so they could make profits. They were allowing illegal immigration so they could exploit those people, and exploit American workers. And he was right. And what you just saw was the majority of Americans agreed with him, where we're, in spite of all the negative coverage he got, here's a guy who nearly got killed by an assassin, and the press couldn't even give him good coverage. Instead, they kept doing political character assassination. I mean, and it was because they didn't give him enough Secret Service protection. I mean, Robert Kennedy endorsed Trump, and it had to be in front of Robert Kennedy's mind as he wasn't given any Secret Service protection until they tried to kill Trump. There was all of us who are older men and women can remember where we were when Kennedy's uncle got shot.
Absolutely.
And his father got shot. And they wouldn't give this guy. Yeah.
I totally remember that. Hey, so John, let me ask you this. Have you had an opportunity to talk with President-elect Trump since the election was called, and how would you describe his mood?
His mood is very good, and I spoke more with him before the election. After the election, my job's done and the pie is cooked, and there's people now cutting up the pie. But it's like, I don't have any.
There's a man who understands his role in life.
Well, yeah, so it's like I was there I was in Palm Beach on election night, and it was like, you heard me on the show. We were going to win.
Yeah.
Although the week before I spoke to him and I said, you realize, like 8 days out, I was talking to him. We were talking about the rally in the garden, some other things, and I said to him, I said, you realize 8 days out, Mitt Romney was ahead in 2012, and he was ahead by a point in the national polls in the popular vote. And then, he kept flying over New York, New Jersey after Hurricane Sandy. Obama comes in, hugs Chris Christie, and Sunday night, Obama's back ahead in the polls, and Monday, and he wins by 4. And President Trump, all he had to say was don't worry, I'm not Mitt Romney.
Boy, that is the understatement of the year.
Because I was telling him, because I was telling him, you have to make, he loves golf analogies. And I was saying, you have to make your putts. This is like Arnold Palmer winning the tournament. I said, we're ahead, but you got to finish it out. You got to make your putts. And he did. I mean, his poise was like, they were throwing the kitchen sink at us. It's like you were just, she was every day with the end of the campaign, their campaign was built on being negative. And by the way, the people, Donald Trump's job rating with the people that voted in our national post-election poll, I'm not going to post this till Monday with the analysis, but this was done November 4th through the 6th. 1,000 people across America. He had a 56 job approval, 43 disapprove. And his favorable, unfavorable rating was 51-48. And Kamala Harris, on the other hand, and Joe Biden's, Kamala Harris's opinion rating was 50-49. I mean, the media, they gave her, she was trying to run a character race where they tried to make her more favorable than Trump. But Trump, in the end, he came out. She was still hiding. She never did a press conference the whole campaign.
Never did a press conference the whole campaign. Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, I think the American people saw through it. It was all staged, right? Where it wasn't true character. It was perceived character that they were, kind of portraying her as.
Yeah, and when you think about that, it's like Donald Trump, when Reagan, when I was a young guy in my 20s when I worked for Finkelstein and we worked for President Reagan, but he was the perfect candidate. You could write a 30-second script, he would read it, and you'd have your endorsement in it. One take, boom, done. He was the perfect candidate at that age. Then later on, I went to work for Arnold Schwarzenegger in the recall election. He was like an action figure. People liked action movies. We'd hold rallies and we'd blow up Volkswagens. And then you had Donald Trump. Donald Trump had the highest rated reality TV show in the country in the reality TV age. And people forget that. Like, he was thinking, the first time I met him, we wrote a plan in 2011, took us a month, for him to run against Obama in 2012. And I kept telling him, I said, they're going to take you off the air. I said, and he said, nah, I talked to these lawyers, they're going to leave you. I said, look, it happened to Steve Forbes, happened to Fred Thompson. I said, when Arnold ran, they fired Maria. Tim Russert had to let Maria Shriver go because he was running for governor of California. So I said, they're going to take you off the air. So that was in like May of 2011. He calls me up and he says, I don't think it's the right time to run. I said, the lawyers obviously told you they're going to take your show off the air. But he had this, when he announced in 2015, he was ready to give up the show. But here it is. He's president again, but he got elected in the most ruthless, toughest time in American politics, and only he could do it. I mean, the lawfare cases against him are totally phony, and they tried to take away his wealth. Because he wasn't sure he was going to run again. But I went to see him with Jason Miller, and I think Brian Jack was with us, and I delivered a poll during the second impeachment when he was out of office in Mar-a-Lago. And I said to him during the poll, I said, 63% of all Republicans want you to run again. And he, at that point, he was just wondering if he was going to get convicted or, by these Washington elites with this phony nonsense again. But I think as Biden went on being president and was dismantling everything he put together, whether it's opening the border, letting all the trade tariffs go, that jobs were going to leave America again, kicking off inflation, the surrender in Afghanistan.
All bad things.
He looked at that and he realized he had to run again.
One last question before we let you go. That makes perfect sense. Next time you do a poll, I would like you to, I'm going to ask you to add this one question about one guy. You ready? Net positives for Tom Homan, the border czar. I think it'll be off the charts, huh? Don't you?
Yes, and he's he grew up on the border. He was
he's from Watertown, New York. John McLaughlin.
You know the area well.
I know it well. That's why he's such a tough guy. All right, John McLaughlin, great pollster, great friend. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Great job.
All right, we'll be back with more after this.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In studio, all-star panelist E.J. Haas. E.J., you know, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was named, nominated to be Secretary of Health and Human Services by Donald J. Trump yesterday. Trump honored his promise to RFK. Yep. And, of course, RFK ran as an independent for a period of time. And, of course, the big mistake the Democrats made is they should have let him run in the Democratic primary.
They probably should have, yeah.
But they didn't. And you know the guy who is really responsible for introducing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to conservatives and MAGA world? It's Stephen K. Bannon. Stephen K. Bannon was interviewing him a couple years ago. And I remember at the time thinking, well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a smart guy, but that voice. It's kind of
very
rough.
difficult.
His voice. Here's Stephen K. Bannon talking about RFK Jr.'s nomination.
Naomi Wolf, holy mackerel. Unbelievable. Just, I can't, I mean, tell me, you've been at this for so long. You've put so much at risk. Talk to me what this day means to you, what RFK, the announcement means to you, and, I mean, just how big it is.
It really is a new day in America. And, you know, with any incredible gift, I think a lot of caution has to be displayed, a lot of discipline. And, you know, I hope that the leadership and all the people aligning with the leadership really think about that the most important thing is to carry this incredible alliance safely, you know, into and through the inauguration and not, as a friend of mine said, quite perceptively spike the football, you know, premature.
So there we go. I mean, Naomi Wolf she was a big Al Gore supporter way back when.
Yep.
I mean, Bannon has opened the door to, you know, populists who otherwise wouldn't have been supportive at all. And I think this is a very significant change in America. It's not the old Democrat Party versus Republican Party. It's not the old left versus right. It's sort of America first versus globalists, right?
Yep. Well, I 100% agree. I've been saying, you know, it wasn't that Trump was fighting the Democrats. It was that he was fighting a machine. And it is a global machine. I mean, you'll hear a lot of people talk about World Economic Forum and NATO and all these massive global organizations. But as it relates here in the U.S., I think we found out this election cycle that the culture really just wants people who are trustworthy, who do what they say they're going to do, have an all-American bulldog attitude, right? Where I know what's right, I'm going to do what's right, you know, and just kind of operate with a level of integrity that we just haven't seen in politicians for decades at least, right?
The thing about Trump is he honors his promises. And, you know, that's why people, I mean, he got RFK Jr. to endorse him. He didn't specifically commit that he'd be heading HHS. He said he could have been possibly like a, you know, healthcare czar.
Sure.
But he made the cabinet nomination. I mean, that is huge.
Well, that and Tulsi for that matter, you know, bringing in these people who are clearly were not Republican when they kind of came on Team Trump, right? But they do have an America First attitude. They have a way of speaking to people where you believe what they say because they've said the same thing repeatedly, but not in that scripted, you know, rehearsed Kamala Harris kind of a way. It's because they actually truly believe it.
The other thing I love about this is we're looking at this, and it's not just the Trump 4 years. I mean, we got a team. And if you look at it, I mean, you could say, okay, well, we're set up for decades politically.
I don't want to get ahead of our skis on that. It does make me a little nervous to kind of skip over these next 4 years and look there.
Here's the thing, though. See, because we're just talking here, I love to do it. And let me tell you why I like to do it. Because we have lived through 16 years of, I don't know if America's going to make it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm tired of that.
Yep.
I want to think of positivity. Let me spin a future for you here. So, okay, we'll go to 4 successful years. America will be back on top by 2028. Then you're going to have, it's not really a team of rivals. It's a team of friendly competitors. Mm-hmm. The people who will then be lining up for the Trump mantle. Well, you'll, of course, have J.D. Vance,
sure.
who has been spectacular
He's
as a
been
VP.
Great.
But RFK Jr. Mm-hmm. Look, I'll tell you what will happen. RFK Jr. will join the Republican Party.
Oh, I'm certain of it.
Right. And his father ran for president. Mm-hmm. His uncle was president. When he looks in the mirror, he sees the next Kennedy president.
Sure.
And then we're going to have Vivek. Mm-hmm. Vivek will run for president.
Oh, I don't know. He and JD are so close.
Oh no, I don't. No.
Really?
Oh yeah, he'll run.
I think JD.
But they'll run, but it will be. It's not going to be the same kind of. And we're kind of speculating on as to the future.
I think Tulsi will run also.
Tulsi will run. Mm-hmm. They'll all run.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
What a primary that'll be.
Right.
But it's not going to be, well, you miserable so-and-so.
Right.
It said, you did a great job, and I can lead us, and I want you to be part of that job in the future. That is so, I don't think we've ever had this level of unity in America.
I
agree.
It's
just beyond fantastic.
Yeah, and I think, too, the role of the vice president has traditionally been pretty quiet and uneventful. Mm-hmm. I see J.D. Vance taking a much larger role in this administration.
So you remember FDR's first vice president, John Nance Garner, who was famous for saying, the vice presidency isn't worth a warm bucket of spit.
Yes.
Except it wasn't spit that he said.
Right, yes.
Okay. That changed a little bit with Walter Mondale.
Sure.
And Dick Cheney was more active vice president.
He was attacked more.
Kamala Harris has been a nothing vice president. Mm-hmm. J.D. Vance is going to be engaged, as you said.
Right.
And on that note, what a happy day for America. We are back. And you'll
We're
be
back.
And
I
you'll
will
be
be
back
back
Tuesday at 10 a.m. and then Friday
Yes,
again
sir.
at 9 a.m. Thanks for joining us, E.J. Host.
Thanks for
Up
having me.
next, Roger Simon. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.